Thank you.
Peer review. Peer review plays a pivotal role in scholarly publishing. The peer review system exists to validate academic work, helps to improve the quality of published research, and increases networking possibilities within research communities. What is peer review? Peer review is the evaluation of work by one or more people of similar competence to the producers of the work, who are called as peers. Peer review consists a form of self-regulation by qualified members of a profession within the relevant fields. In academia, peer review is often used to determine an academic paper's suitability for publication. Peer review background. Peer review is an indispensable part of scientific communication. It's been in here since the first scientific journal appeared more than 300 years ago. The Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society is thought to be the first journal to formalize the peer review process under the editorship of Henry Oldenburg, who lived from 1618 to 1677 AD. Peer review can be categorized by the type of activity and by the field of activity and by the field or profession in which the activity occurs, such as medical peer review. Medical peer review. So, what is it? So, medical peer review may refer to clinical peer review or the peer evaluation of clinical teaching skills for both physicians and nurses, or scientific peer reviews of journal articles, or to a secondary round of peer review for the clinical value of articles concurrently published in medical journals. American Medical Association uses medical peer review to refer to the process of rating clinical behavior or compliance with professional society membership standards, along with its reference to the process of improving quality and safety in healthcare organization. Professional peer review. Professional review focuses on the performance of professionals with a view to improving quality, upholding standards, or providing certification. In academia, peer review is used to inform in decisions related to faculty advancement and tenure. Professional peer review is common in the field of healthcare, where it is usually called as clinical peer review. Peer review is also used in education to achieve certain learning objectives, particularly as a tool to reach higher order processes in the affective and cognitive domains as defined by Bloom's taxonomy. Scholarly peer review. Scholarly peer review, or referring, is the process of subjecting an author's scholarly work, research, or ideas to the screening of others who are experts in the same field before a paper describing this work is published in a journal, conference, proceedings, or as a book. Now, peer review requires a community of experts in a given field who are qualified and able to perform reasonably impartial review. The peer review helps the publisher that is, the editor-in-chief, the editorial board, or the program committee decide whether the work should be accepted, considered acceptable within revisions, or rejected. Now, technical peer review. Technical peer review are a well-defined review processes, which is a type of engineering review for finding and fixing defects, conducted by a team of peers with assigned roles. Technical peer review is a type of engineering review which are held within developmental phases between milestone reviews on completed products or completed portion of products. Peer review is generally considered necessary to academic quality, and also it is used in most major scholarly journals. But some researchers are of the view that peer review is unable to prevent publication of invalid research, and hence it is doubtful that peer review improves the quality of research papers. It is worth mentioning that despite many criticisms about the integrity of peer review, the majority of research community still believe that peer review is the best form of scientific evaluation and research validation, and it is being continued successfully with relatively minor changes for around the last 3.5 centuries. Documentation. Documentation is the general practice of acknowledging sources by indicating what has been borrowed for the concerned body of work. Documentation serves two main purposes. Now, what are they? They are: documentation acknowledges the original source and gives credit where due. Secondly, documentation allows the readers and evaluators to track down the source and determine the validity of claims in the concerned work. The procedures of documentation vary from one sector or one type to another. In general, this may involve document drafting, formatting, submitting, reviewing, approving, distributing, reposting, and tracking, etc., and are convened by associated standard operating procedures in a regulating or regulatory industry. Documentation could also involve creating content from scratch. Documentation should be easy to read and understand, as if it's too long and too wordy, it may be misunderstood or even ignored. Clear, short, and familiar words should be used to a maximum of about 15 words to a sentence. Also, only gender hyper-neutral word should be used and cultural biases should be avoided. Procedures should be numbered when they are to be performed. Reference. So, a reference or bibliographical reference is a piece of information provided in a footnote or bibliography of a written work, such as a book, article, essay, report, oration, or any other text type, specifying the written work of another person used in the creation of that text. Reference is the bibliographic information that guides readers to the source. Reference is very important. Without it, a study is not completed. Reference is a very essential part of a research. The primary purpose of references is to allow readers to examine the sources of a text either for validity or to learn more about the subject. Such items are often listed at the end of work in a section marked references or bibliography. A bibliographical reference mostly includes the full name of the author or the authors, the title of their work, and the year of publication. Citation. Now, what is citation? A citation is a reference to a source. That is, a citation is an abbreviated alphanumeric expression embedded in the body of an intellectual work that denotes an entry in the bibliographic references section of the work for the purpose of acknowledging the relevance of the works of others to the topic of discussion at the spot where the citation appears. A citation occurs only when one uses a specific source in his or her work and then follows up with the proper bibliographic informations. Citations should be included within the body of the document. A bibliographic citation is a reference to a book, article, web page, or other published item, and also citations should supply detail to identify the item uniquely. Different citation systems and styles are used in scientific citation, legal citation, prior art, the arts, and the humanities. Generally, the combination of both the in-body citation and the bibliographic entry constitutes what is commonly thought of as a citation, whereas the bibliographic entries by themselves are not. Citations institute intellectual honesty, attributes prior or unoriginal work and ideas to the correct sources, allow the reader to determine independently whether the reference material supports the author's argument in the claim to a. And last but not the least, citation helps the reader to gauge the strength and validity of the material the author has used. Bibliographies and other list-like compilations of references are generally not considered citations, as they fail to fulfill the true spirit of deliberate acknowledgement by other authors of the priority of one's ideas. References should be listed to explain where the citation information was obtained, and also it is to be noted that if a citation was not listed within the document, it does not make sense to list a reference. There are basically two types of citation systems, which are the Vancouver system and the parenthetical referencing. However, the Council of Science Editors, or CSE, has added a third system, which is the citation name system. Vancouver system, it is very important. The Vancouver system, which is also known as Vancouver reference style or the author number system, is a citation style that uses numbers within the text that refer to numbered entries in the reference list. It is popular in the physical sciences and is one of the two referencing systems normally used in medicine. The other system being the author date or Harvard system. Vancouver style is used by Medline and PubMed. Plagiarism, very important. Plagiarism is an academic dishonesty and an unlawful breach of the ethics of journalism, as it is the stealing and taking over of another author's language, thoughts, ideas, or expressions and representing them as one's own original and pure unadulterated work. It is worth noting that even though plagiarism and copyright infringement overlap and intermingle to a large extent, these concepts are not equivalent, and it is even seen that many types of plagiarism do not constitute copyright infringement, which is defined by copyright law and may be adjudicated by the courts of law. Guidelines for plagiarism. What are these? There are 4 guidelines for plagiarism. They are, first and foremost, plagiarism covers the application of ideas that have been presented in previous works, regardless of whether the ideas or thoughts are expressed using the same words, tables, or graphics. Secondly, it must be clearly identified if one does word for word copying or the work by others. The work has to be quoted as well as to be followed by a citation. The third guideline is more extensive word for word copying of one's own work is permitted with permission from the copyright holder, but it should be clearly indicated in the article. This does not hold true for the author's thesis. And the fourth and the final guideline, that is, the first paper in which a creative contribution occurs, such as text, ideas, or analysis, gets the credit for the contribution, even if it has not yet been accepted for publication, and also the subsequent papers by the same or different authors are expected to cite the first paper, even if the first paper is under review. Some institutions use plagiarism detection software to uncover potential plagiarism and to deter students from plagiarizing. However, plagiarism detection software doesn't always yield accurate results, and there are loopholes in these systems. Contract cheating is an extreme form of plagiarism, and it involves students paying someone else, such as an essay mill, to do their work for them. It is seen in thesis preparation and this kind of things basically. So one should avoid this kind of contract cheatings. Reverse plagiarism. Reverse plagiarism or attribution without copying refers to falsely giving authorship credit over a work to a person who did not author it, or falsely claiming a source supports an assertion that the source does not make. While both the term and activity are relatively rare, incidents of reverse plagiarism do occur, typically in similar contexts as traditional plagiarism. Plagiarism is not good. Plagiarism should not, one should not do this kind of plagiarism. One should avoid this plagiarism as much as we can. Plagiarism is a definite barrier in the path of success in research methodologies. A true researcher will never do plagiarism. Plagiarism is an offense. Say no to plagiarism. The task of the excellent teacher is to stimulate apparently ordinary people to unusual effort. The tough problem is not in identifying winners. It is in making winners out of ordinary people. This famous lines was said by Mrs. K. Patricia Cross. This is Heemanshu Shekhar Gogoi. Thanks and Namaskar. And you are watching Namaskar Physiology. Thank you. Thank you all. And the times like COVID-19 is spreading still, so kindly take care and remember Always be hopeful. Thank you.